20 years of lies. My wife's secret destroyed everything. Now she's paying the price. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. The little things. The way my wife, Emily, laughed just a little too hard at Ryan's jokes. The way their eyes lingered on each other across the dinner table. The way my kids, never quite looked like me. But I was blind, stupid even. Too in love with my family. Too trusting of my best friend. Too naive to imagine the kind of betrayal they were capable of. Emily and I had been married for almost 20 years. We met in college. She was the fiery, sharp-witted woman who could shut down any argument with a single smirk. And I was the quiet, steady guy who kept her grounded. Or so I thought. We built a life together. A good life. A house in the suburbs. 2 kids. Jacob and Sophie. A golden retriever named Max, and all the usual cliches. And then there was Ryan. My best friend since high school. Practically family. He was always around, always welcome. We watched football together on Sundays. Took our families on vacations. He was in the hospital with me when both my kids were born. I never questioned any of it. Not even when I caught those little moments. Emily smoothing her hair when Ryan entered the room. The secret smiles they thought no one noticed. I dismissed it as paranoia. After all, Emily and I had been through rough patches before. Stress from work, money problems, the usual things couples argue about. And Ryan? He was like a brother to me. There was no reason to doubt him. Until the night it all fell apart. It started with a joke. Jacob, my 17-year-old son, had been teasing me about my terrible sense of direction. "Dad, you could get lost in your own backyard," he laughed. Emily joined in. Then Ryan smirked and added, "Must be why he never noticed Sophie looks nothing like him." The room went quiet for a second. Then they all laughed. I chuckled too, but something about the way Ryan said it sent a chill down my spine. That night, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Jacob had Emily's dark hair and green eyes, but Sophie was different. Lighter hair, a different jawline. A thought crept into my mind. A ridiculous, irrational thought, but once it was there, I couldn't shake it. By morning, I had already ordered the DNA test. The results arrived a week later. Not a match. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. It had to be a mistake. A lab error. I ordered another test, another lab. Not a match. My stomach turned to ice. My hands went numb. I felt like I was falling, the ground ripped from under me. Jacob was next. Not a match. My world shattered. For days I walked around in a daze. I still slept in the same bed as Emily, still made breakfast for the kids, still pretended everything was normal. But inside I was burning, and I needed the truth. There was only one way to get it. One evening I told Emily I had a business trip. I left town, flew to another state, and sent the samples to a private lab. This time I included Ryan's DNA. He had no idea. I had taken a beer bottle he left at my house. I waited, sleepless nights, a gnawing emptiness inside me. Then the email arrived. Ryan is the father of both Jacob and Sophie. Everything inside me went cold. Every moment of the past 2 decades replayed in my mind. The birthday parties, the family vacations, the Christmas mornings. The life I thought was mine. All of it was a lie. I shut my laptop and sat in silence, listening to the hum of the hotel air conditioner. Then I did the only thing I could do. I vanished. I didn't go home. Instead, I disappeared. I withdrew cash from ATMs in different cities, left my phone in a trash bin at an airport, and took a one-way bus ticket to a nowhere town where no one knew my name. I became a ghost. For the first time in my life, I was completely alone. No family, no best friend, no identity. Just a man with nothing but rage and betrayal gnawing at his insides. At first I drank, a lot. Cheap whiskey in rundown motel rooms. Anything to quiet the screaming thoughts in my head. But alcohol only dulled the pain. It didn't erase it. And the more I drank, the more one thought consumed me. They stole my life. Emily, Ryan, even the kids. They had built a happy little family while I lived in an illusion. And I knew deep in my bones I couldn't let them get away with it. They had to pay. Revenge isn't something you rush. It's something you plan. Over the next few months, I built a new identity, a new name, a new life. I took a job under the table at a mechanic's shop, worked out every morning until my body was lean and strong, and studied everything I could about hacking, surveillance, and manipulation. I wasn't just coming back for revenge. I was coming back to destroy them. First, I watched from a distance. Ryan had moved in with Emily. My kids, his kids, called him Dad now. They looked happy. Sickeningly happy. They thought I was dead. The police found my abandoned car by a river. They assumed I had ended my life. Emily cried at my funeral. Ryan comforted her. The lies continued. But I wasn't a ghost. I was a storm waiting to hit. My first step was to break Ryan. He had taken everything from me, my wife, my family, my trust. Now I would take everything from him. I hacked into his email, his bank accounts, his business records, and I found his weakness. Ryan wasn't just a liar. He was a fraud. He had been stealing money from his own company, shifting funds, covering up debts. On the surface, he looked successful. But one wrong move and his entire empire would crumble. So I made that move. Anonymous tips to the IRS, to his business partners, to his competitors. Within weeks, Ryan's company was under investigation. His assets were frozen. His reputation was in ruins. And then I took it further. Late-night phone calls with no one on the other end. Emails sent from his account that he didn't write. A few staged leaks of false information. Soon Ryan was spiraling. Paranoid, desperate. Watching him fall apart was the first real pleasure I'd felt in months. But I wasn't done. Because Emily was next. Emily once told me she loved me more than anything in the world. I wondered if she had been laughing inside when she said it. When I confronted her, she had been so good at lying. So convincing. She didn't flinch when she betrayed me. But I would make her feel it now. I started small. Little things. Deleted text messages, strange charges on her credit card, gifts she didn't remember buying. Then the bigger things. Anonymous letters hinting at Ryan's past affairs, whispers at her job about money troubles. Rumors spread through concerned friends. She began to doubt everything. Her relationship with Ryan crumbled under the weight of stress and suspicion. And when she finally hit her lowest point, when she was desperate for answers, I sent her the final blow. A simple message. From an unknown number. I know what you did, and I'm coming home. I walked back into my house like I had never left. Emily screamed. Ryan turned pale. The kids, my kids, froze in shock. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then I smiled. Did you miss me? Ryan was the first to react, standing up, his face twisted in anger. You're supposed to be dead. I laughed, a real deep laugh. Yeah, that would have been convenient for you, wouldn't it? Emily's hand shook. Where have you been? Watching, I said simply. Learning the truth. I pulled out an envelope and tossed it onto the table. DNA results, bank fraud records, every single lie they had ever told. Ryan grabbed the papers, his face draining of color as he read. Emily started crying. I can explain. No, you can't. I cut her off. But you can listen. Then I told him exactly what was going to happen. Ryan was finished. His fraud was exposed, his life was in ruins, and the authorities were closing in. Emily would live with her choices. She had traded a loyal husband for a liar. Now she had nothing. And as for the kids, I loved them, but they weren't mine. And that truth hurt more than anything. Goodbye, Emily, I said, walking toward the door. She ran after me, sobbing. Please, please don't go. But I didn't stop. For the first time in my life, I was truly free, and I wasn't looking back. I drove until I reached the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and crimson. For the first time in a long time, I felt light. I had lost everything. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. Maybe it was a chance to start over. A new life, a new name. And this time, no one would ever lie to me again. As I watched the waves crash against the shore, I smiled. The past was dead, and I was finally alive.